Get going. I just want to acknowledge everyone here for keeping going and going and going. This is Paradigm Shifters, Transformation Tuesdays. I'm Judy Matejek, um, transformational person, life coach, paradigm shifter. So let's take a deep breath into this moment, into this day, and welcome to Transformation Tuesday. Paradigm Shifters. Now, Paradigm Shifters, we are a glowing group. Dedicated community, dedicated to shift and uplift the planet, one person, one Tuesday at a time. And we have members globally from all over the planet, and we've been going since 2020, March 2020. So in June 2023, our topic has been a force for good. Don't you love it? I love it. And we have our guest speaker today, Cynthia Murphy, back, which was so good last time. We're going to have her come back on again. So Cynthia is an inspirational speaker. Yeah, and transformational coach. Now, through a life changing experience, Cynthia had a choice. It's all about choice, right? Evolve your parenting style or face the consequences of continued overgiving and putting yourself last. Facing the unknown, Cynthia began the courageous journey of discovering a way to embrace her unique gifts and talents and create greater authentic success as a woman, a mother, and a professional. Cynthia founded, I love the name of your coaching business, Love Your Legacy Coaching. Isn't that cool? To help others connect with their authentic power and live a life that ignites their souls. Cynthia has successfully raised 3 neurodiverse children who are confident, independent, and finding their way to a life they love. She enjoyed a 10-year career in professional dance and has a background in sports medicine, neuroscience, and nutrition. For more than 3 decades, Cynthia has worked as a wellness professional and coach with a concentration in personal development. So, leveraging her unique skill set, Cynthia has inspired hundreds of women to rise above the victim story. Oh, I love that. Okay, and thrive with confidence, feeling empowered to live a life they love and are proud of without sacrificing, this is important, the needs of their families. With keen awareness training, proven tools, and expertise, compassionate support, Cynthia's clients are liberated to embrace their unique gifts and talents and achieve their desired success with even greater ease and speed. So, Cynthia, you're coming to us from New Jersey, right?
I am Northern New Jersey, and it's actually a beautiful day here. Nice cool breeze, not too warm.
And you live with your husband and Brian, and you enjoy nature and um, riding horses. So,
Love, always, yeah, love horses.
me too. There's something special about that. So come on in here, and what you got for us today about, a
Sure.
force for good?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Judy. I truly appreciate it. And I was thinking about, a force for good. And so I came up with these ideas came to me, a couple of stories that hope that really address more subtle, maybe not so obvious ways to be a force for good. So the first story really starts in April 2015, and the night before I was going to donate a kidney to my brother. I was lying in my mom's house waiting to go because she lived next to the hospital, and she'd given me this meditation CD to listen to called Preparing for Surgery. And I had avoided it. I didn't want to listen to it for so long. Finally, the night before, I have no kids around, nothing to do. I'm calm, I'm relaxed. And so I said, okay, I'll listen to it. And it took me through this process of thanking my body in advance for healing quickly. That was the message. And I heard this voice as I'm listening to this CD. I heard this voice that it was definitely a voice from me, but I had not heard it for the longest time, for years, I think. And it said to me, "That's interesting. You're not accustomed to thanking your body." And I didn't even speak to myself that way. So it kind of really stood out. And so we had the surgery, everything went really well. I'm recovering, and my brother is still doing really well. So as I'm recovering, the surgery itself slowed me down, like big time. And I was at my mom's house recovering with no kids, no family to take care of, probably for at least 2 weeks. And these two awarenesses came to me from that voice. One of them was that I've been hating myself for a really long time. And the other awareness is that it's really important that I share my gifts and talents. And this sounded really great and everything, but I didn't know how to be kind to myself, number one. And I just was not in the habit of that. And how to be loving with myself. Yeah, it's a great idea, but I didn't know how to do it. And I also didn't even know what my gifts were. It's like, okay, this sounds great, but what gifts? And the other phenomenon, the third thing that was going on, is I noticed that there was this almost like this intoxicating gratitude just being poured into my life every day. And it felt so good. And so these three awarenesses led to me under a new understanding. And that eventually would take me to becoming a coach too, that I wasn't aware of at the time. But the understandings that I gained over time, and with support, is that self-care is not selfish. On the contrary, it's the most basic way to express gratitude for one's existence, right? In fact, being a force for good includes nurturing yourself with the utmost appreciation and love. So that was one beautiful shift for me, so just taking care of ourselves, the idea of really caring for our souls and who we are, is such a force for good. And the meaning that I actually made out of my whole experience, is that putting myself in the flow of giving and receiving, generating gratitude through that law of circulation we talk about, the giving and the receiving, feeling the gratitude, well, first of all, it sets you up to receive more, like when you actually give, like to have that experience and not just know in my head, oh yeah, giving's so great because it's good to give and then you receive, but to really feel it and have it implemented in my life, without me actually feeling like I did anything to earn that. Yeah, I donated a kidney, I gave life to a person, yes, and that's amazing in itself. And it wasn't about that. It was just this daily vibration I got to feel. And because I'd been put on a new vibration, a new level of thinking and feeling and just being. So from this, generating gratitude is really the feeling of gratitude on a regular basis will transform you. It's such a force for good, and it will lift everyone around you. So those are the things that I gleaned from that experience. So that was one story.
Yeah. So
And
gold nugget, gold nugget.
okay, yeah, gold nugget.
Self-care is not selfish. I just wrote that one down. And I love the fact that giving, right? That you gave a kidney, that just for me is like that's hero status for me. and but it wasn't it was the feeling. Can you underline that? What you said something in there about the feeling.
Sure. So I guess I think this is what I said. I'll say this. It felt like this intoxicating gratitude it's like the heavens opened up and just poured down. Gratitude rained all over me, through me, in me. I didn't know about transformation principles at that point, not formally, but I just would wake up every morning just feeling this calm and this beauty. And it was such a game changer for me, given my life beforehand, which was always like go, 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 rush, beat myself in the back for not doing everything, etc. And just feeling gratitude on a regular basis, it will transform you and it will lift everyone else up, everyone around you. Yeah. Is that what you were looking for, Judy?
Yes. And
Okay.
it's what there is no common good. I think that's what they.
Yes.
Yes. And so go on to you were going on to number two.
Yes, yeah. So I love that there's no private good. I love that principle. Yeah, when you do when it's good for you, it's really good for you. It's really good for all. So I love that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh,
Yeah. So as mentioned it before, when we were at the beginning, I do love horses. I've always had a love for horses, and so one day my mom, when I was probably 1973, she took me, and my mom and my stepdad took me to this racetrack in Saratoga Springs to watch Secretariat, like this great racehorse run after he'd won the Triple Crown, right? And so I was so thrilled. And then what was so interesting to me is in May this year, 2023, I saw just out of the blue, I saw this documentary about the farm he retired, Secretariat, the horse was retired on, and the narrator was saying how people flocked to this farm to see the grave of Secretariat, to get married, right next to on the farm, and also to be in the presence of greatness. And fun fact, which I didn't know before, is that after Secretariat had died, they did an autopsy on him, and they found his heart to be like many times greater in size than any other thoroughbred racehorse, which was interesting to me. And that's actually what gave him his exceptional endurance and speed, which is the thing that allowed him to dominate his sport and be so great. So it made me wonder. So I was like, what is it that attracts people to greatness? Why do we admire those who exhibit greatness in their lives? It was interesting to me.
So what is
And
it
that,
that I'm asking? I'm going to write that question. What is it that attracts people to greatness? Right?
yes.
Okay, keep going. I'm taking notes.
Okay. And why do we gravitate toward and celebrate greatness in others? And why do we do that? So I was thinking about that, and then these two ideas kind of dropped in, and because there's inherent greatness in each one of us. Greatness is the core of our true nature. And then the second thing that dropped in is because it takes heart or rigor. It takes heart, like it takes having a heart that's bigger than the obstacles to create great success, right? Bigger than the fear, bigger than what stops us. Excuse me. And for me anyway, I'm pretty sure this is true for everyone, but we tend to admire and be inspired by stories of overcoming odds, right? Overcoming obstacles and fear. And then this other question came up for me. How do we become our own greatest of all time?
Ooh.
Like, how do we do that?
Okay, I'm
Because
going to pause there. Everybody's
okay, pause.
How do we become
Our own greatest of all time.
our own goat?
Yeah.
Of all time. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
How? Well, it isn't that some of us have greatness in us and some of us don't. Like, I realize that it's this, that any human who's achieved any level of greatness has done so with fear, like in the presence of all the obstacles. And I spent so much of my young life just trying to get rid of the obstacles, trying to say, I don't want obstacles. I don't want to feel afraid. I tried to avoid it my whole life. So I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but that's kind of how I was. So to recognize that greatness and the expression of who we like really want to be in our lives, we have the capacity, but it happens with fear and obstacles, like in the presence of all that stuff, right? So, for example, I have an example of this. When I was before I got married, when I was a younger person, I had this dream of having, when I had my own family, to have a flourishing, stable, functional, healthy family, right? But I had no idea how to do it. None, because I've come from a divorced family. Very young age, my parents separated and got divorced. I think I was 5 or 7, something like that. And so after that, I'd made a decision, even before I met my husband, I made a decision that the generational confusion and shame and blame and discord that I've experienced, it stops with me. It stops with me. That was my decision. And I was just, I was adamant about that. I hadn't met my husband yet, but I just knew that that's what my purpose was. So eventually it worked itself into a vision, which I didn't know what a vision was at that point, but about, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, my vision became I'm creating a functional, well family. We share loving, kind communication, like that. So that kind of energy. So I was moving towards something instead of moving away from the confusion, the shame, the blame, right? So that was my vision. And so, but most of the time that I've been parenting, which is for 24 years, it didn't look like my vision. It was like, this is not it. Sometimes it was, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not it. Um, I felt like I was cohabitating with my husband. We weren't really sharing very much love with each other. I felt like a single mom. He'd leave at 5 a.m. and get back at 7:30 p.m. I had these three little kids who were like, the whole deal. So it was, and I was worried all the time for years about, are my kids getting their needs met? Because each of them had, more than typical needs, especially in education. So that's how it was. And then there was one time where in 2018, so things started to shift, because I got support. I had coaching going on for myself and had this vision I was leaning into and really living from as much as possible. And I'm on my way to a conference, I think where you were too, in 2018, and then I'm about to, I'm going down the stairs. I've got my bags packed, and then I'm going to go out the door, get in the Uber or get in the car to go to the airport. And my daughters, they're teenagers, 19 and 17 at this point, something like that. They are, one of them I hear the shrieking and screaming. One of them runs upstairs, and they're just like vehemently fighting, physically, like going at each other. And it's like, I wanted to leave and go, be doing what I would love. And then here's this, and it's like my heart sank. And my thought was, God, is my vision ever going to happen?
Oh,
It just was like, like
mm,
that. So, and here's what saved everything, because I'll share just a little bit about what it is now. But this was only 3 years ago, 24 years old. So after 21 years of parenting, still leaning into the vision, still not being on, oh yeah, it's all perfect and beautiful, wonderful all the time. It was holding the vision and doing what I could, because it's the only thing I had to hold on to. That was what I was in love with in regards to my family. I felt like I really didn't know how. I didn't have more skills than I'd already developed on, how to parent, like parenting skills, or how to be different with my kid. Like I tried it all and I'd been doing my best, but it still wasn't what was in love with. And the only thing I had to hold on to was the vision itself.
and it goes back to the vision that was the original vision from a long time ago that was built on to this vision. I really, like, okay, it was a long time ago that, but it built and built and built, but that's still the core vision.
Exactly.
Yes.
So yeah.
It's great. This is great because this is where people give up or they continue knowing.
Mhm.
I know we always say that this is what it looks like as it's all working out. Easier said than done when you're in the middle of it.
Exactly.
So
Totally.
did you go to the conference or did you
Oh,
turn around?
oh no, I went to the conference and it
Yeah,
was absolutely life-changing.
yeah,
Um, and and it didn't feel comfortable.
no,
Like there was a part of me screaming, like, oh, you can't go, you've got to do, like that. And so I went to the conference, and now what's occurred is in the past 3 years until now, my family is totally flourishing. It's amazing. I've got young adult children. There's so much love that we feel with each other. There's mutual respect. Um, my son says, he's 19, he says, Mom, I love you. Like he says it repeatedly. He gives me hugs. My daughters talk to everyone, and they all talk to each other, and they come to me with their problems. We've got this open communication, and I'm just so grateful that I chose to stick with it and to become bigger, right?
yeah.
Than what
I remember a moment in time like that too when I was out in LA, at a conference, and I got a call from my daughter. She was going in for emergency gallbladder surgery in Boston, and I was on the West Coast, and I was just like, woo! And I got pulled aside, you know, because we're in a container of support there. And I just like pulled aside, and they said, God is in Boston. God is here. God will, whatever there. And it was like, I needed someone to physically looking me in the eye and go, God is
Mm.
everywhere. And it ended up really good. And I was able to be with her 2 or 3, about 6 weeks after in the recovery process, which is where I was needed more than that. But yeah, it's a
Wow.
choice. Those mama trips are so okay. So keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, thank God for the support, right? Um, and for being reminded of the truth
That's it.
that
Yeah.
God is everywhere. Doesn't only exist in, one place at a time. Yes. So what I learned with the support,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
learned that deciding to kind of relate with fear and relate with the unknown, or the challenge in an empowering way, that's how I became more than it. That's how it was still going on to whatever degree it was going on, but I didn't add fuel to it by fighting with it, resisting it, and all that stuff. I was able to kind of dance with fear, dance with the unknown in a certain way. So I got to become bigger than that. So that's one thing that I learned with support. Another thing is that I think it's probably, I think we have a tendency to, well, we can use fear as a tool to forge a stronger, more versatile, capable version of ourselves, right? It's like when you consider how steel is made, it's that intense heat is what forges iron. I believe it's iron. I'm not a chemist, but forges iron into steel, right? A stronger metal. So, and when you can, yeah, that's just the same thing that happens with us with fear and with obstacles. We can use it as a force for good. We have that choice. And so the other thing is that I've learned to make it okay that I always have two sides of my nature. Like I always have this finite human side that is leaning towards safety at all times. Yeah. Um, and it wants me to just stay safe, stay in the familiar. And then I also have the infinite side of my nature, which is inviting me to soar.
Mm-hmm.
So I make it okay with myself. Okay, I got both these things going on. I don't have to disappear the fear or want to go blink like a genie and have the obstacle just like evaporate. So I mean, these are the steps that I think these are more sort of subtle steps that aren't maybe so obvious, but what I learned to do even before I knew really about coaching was to embrace, update, and integrate. Those
Ooh.
are the three things that really help me when I'm working, dancing with the fear in an empowering way, or approaching and using my fear of the unknown, or like that. So embrace for me just means to welcome it, and yes, tell myself the truth about it. Okay, this is a part of me that's been trying to keep me safe, and yes, I'm feeling this experience of fear, but to thank it, like thank you for keeping me safe.
Yeah.
Appreciate that part, um, right? Because I don't want to avoid it, or you know try to intimidate it away, or anything like that. Just to embrace it. Does that make sense to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yes, yes, it does. And so you're embracing,
Yes. And
welcome, and
then,
then what's the next step?
yeah, updating.
Update.
So I actually have a conversation with this part of myself. If this is an example of a conversation. I'm not trying to get rid of you. Thank you for keeping me safe for so long. Up
Mm.
until now, you've done such a great job at keeping me safe. Thank you. I want you to know I am safe. Would you be willing to give me some space while I show you and prove to you that I'm not going to die? I'm just taking a step. So I have a conversation with the fear, that
Wow.
with the part of myself that feels afraid. And and then I take the step that I can take. That's kind of integrates that part of me that had felt afraid, and now it's updated by me demonstrating through the action I'm taking and saying, see, I'm still safe, I'm still here. It actually, what I've noticed is it brings that energy, it updates it so it's not really so fearful anymore. Because I think the typical, I think the way we're trained anyway is to want to resist fear, and not, we don't like fear. Fear is bad. So this is something different that I do. So I like to embrace, update, and integrate it.
Integrate. Oh. So tell me more about integration. Yeah, that.
Yeah, okay. So I actually wrote some notes here too. Um, what I experience is when I'm noticing a thought that I'm afraid of. And when I'm in the noticing capacity, when I'm actually noticing something and not feeling like it's got control of me, but when I get to notice it, it's almost like it creates this separation, this space between me, the observer, and the thing I'm observing. And in that space, there's a calm, and there's an opportunity to really identify as the observer self, identify as the part of me that's the truth of who I am. And that part is all of a sudden kind of gives me connection to, wisdom from infinite intelligence, or from, God, or whatever word you want to use, but connects me to the energy that's everywhere, right? So I get to watch it, and when I identify with my true nature in that way, it's really changing my identity in that way that allows me to become, to know that I'm more than what's going on around me, and what's even feels like it's, really unsettling inside me. So that's one thing, Judy. And then the other part is, it just feels, it's like I'm surrounding the part of me. I know Matt Boggs has talked a lot about this too in some of his amazing meditations, but just really surrounding that part with love. It just makes my chest and my heart space sort of feel really good. And it changes. So when I talk about integrate, instead of keeping separate, like the fear is separate from me, I actually change the vibration of that fear part and bring it into me. So now it's integrated in a new understanding. So now we get to move together forward, taking the step with greater ease. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking here, but yes, I
No,
am the
no,
speaker,
and
but
I
if
no,
you want to add.
that you're surrounding the fear with love, and
Mhm.
that it changes it. It changes it physically,
It transmutes the energy. It
emotionally.
transmutes the energy of fear
Mm,
to
mm.
a new I know, a calmer vibration, almost like more peaceful experience.
Okay, here's the question. So, in the parenting field, right? And there's, the kids are out for summer. There's a lot of movement going on out there, a lot more than when they're in school. But and so there's a shift there, a parenting shift, I think, as well, where the schedules aren't there, they're new schedules and stuff. And I have a feeling, I know, I'm talking to my daughter who has young, kids, that there's a fear there that if um, if they aren't calm and peaceful all the time, I am a bad mom. And
Mm.
standing in the energy of letting them have the space, right? And my question is, in that space where you want to go in, and it's like they are nuts, they're crying, they're hungry, they're not used to eating at this time. How do you hold yourself in that space, transmitting your energy? And I'm just a little bit of a house stuff here. for the parents out there and the grandparents too, because so many of the grandparents I know are going in and they're doing, the child care during the summer while the parents work. And I think that that would be a really, if you can, like, what is something that you've used in the past or now that you've seen work, like in an instant. I might like quick fix because like you said, like when your energy's calm, it transmutes. So anyway, does that make sense? That
That's
question.
such a great question. I love this question. Thank you so much for asking it. Yeah, so there are some practical tools, absolutely. There's also some energetic sort of mindset tools. I think the first, I just wrote a couple of notes down as you were speaking. So, I mean, this is just dropping in right now, but the tool of noticing what you're noticing, that when I first learned that, as I was a client of Mary's online program before I even ever considered becoming a coach. And when I learned that, to notice what I'm noticing, that in itself transformed so much. Like, because I was underwater, it was chaos, and it just kind of allowed things to settle, because what it allowed me to do was this one practical step that it's not easy to do, most people know it, but not everyone is able to implement it, is to, if you're noticing what you're noticing, it can make this easier to, the chaos, the kids are raucous, there's like things feel out of control, they're not calm and peaceful. I'm starting to feel like I'm a bad mom because, oh my God, I should be doing something more, maybe whatever's going on like that, right? So so to begin, number one, notice what you're noticing, literally to notice, and then to say, okay, I'm going to take a breath now, and I'm going to breathe and count to 10. And I'm going to, yes, make sure, is anyone going to kill themselves? No? Okay, so I'm going to breathe and count to 10. It's not easy to do, like, especially in that situation. And just the attempting it will shift your energy. Okay. So the other thing that I do is I like to, now I have this awareness. I didn't have it at that time, but so I can offer it now, but to make it okay that someone maybe falls or stubs a toe, or to make it okay that, like, what's the worst case scenario here? What's the worst case scenario, to make peace with that? So yes, I had the boundary, the limit of, okay, my kids aren't going to die here. That was the thing that, like, sometimes, it went to that extreme. That was the limiter that I wasn't willing to kind of, if that happened, if I thought that was happening, then I would pull back. But there were times when I would just kick the toys out of the way. I just couldn't, I was so exhausted. So just, and the chaos was everywhere. So I don't know if that helps, but that's a practical tool, is that notice and then count to 10, or count to even 3, and breathe. Even if you breathe, it's with the breathing, that's the main thing. And if your kids are okay, just, okay, let's see what happens. Get curious. What's going to happen here? Because we know that out of chaos comes a new level of order sometimes, right? And when children are allowed, what I've noticed, when children are allowed to be creative and express themselves and be crazy, then they often learn about themselves and the people in their environment that they wouldn't get if the parent kind of stepped in and tried to calm them down. It's an unsustainable practice to try to calm your kids down. Yeah, it's going to make you nuts. So the other thing that I do, that I still do today, in terms of, I guess I'd call it this, in training the people around me to an energy of love. That's what I do. And even if my daughters aren't really in my space, I've done this with them and I've been at college. I close my eyes and I breathe into my heart, and I just imagine, and I just do that until I start to feel this resonance of calm and peace. And then I bring them to mind. I see their face. And then I bring their heart into that space with my heart. And I just send them love and I wish them well, because we know that everything is energy, and it's not necessarily, whatever we say or do, what matters about our actions and our words is what's the energy we're coming from,
Yeah.
right? Because that creates the result. So what I've noticed is, my daughter was in the car. You can apply this if you're a mother with little kids, you're driving your car, doing an errand, you got them all in the car, and they're like, Mom, I want this, or when are we going to get there, or whatever they're saying, right? You can apply this to the situation too, where you can just breathe, and just go into your heart space. Put your awareness in that part of your body as you breathe in and just out, and then imagine that the energy, or imagine a ball of energy around your heart expanding and filling the car, and just filling, and so that they're encompassed in that energy, and watch what happens.
What a
Watch what
great
happens.
experiment. I'm going to invite everyone here
Yeah.
for an experiment in doing that. So I would like to ask you, like, one thing. What can we? Thank you so much for all this
Oh,
wisdom. This is so good,
oh,
and
you're so
so good
welcome.
we can
You're
be
so
behind
welcome.
it. Embrace, update, integrate, and you know. So, what is it that we could hold for you for this summer months, or for your next vision? Because your vision is just growing, like. So tell us what you would love to have us hold as paradigm shifters for you.
Thank you so much for this. So, if you all would hold for me that I continue to grow into generously sharing my gifts and insights, helping thousands to know their magnificence and live lives of radical joy and purpose.
Oh,
Even more.
yes,
Yeah,
you
if
got
you'd
it.
hold that for me.
Energy here. Come on, Facebook buddies. There you go. Wow, radical joy. Yes, I love it. All right, here you go. You got it?
Thank you. I got it.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you. What a wow. Nuggets, nuggets, nuggets. Thank you so much. And we're very grateful for you today.
My
Yeah.
pleasure.
Uh, awesome. Okay. Let's see this. Yes.